Well, I don't think a lot of people expected this, that the Dallas Mavericks beat the Suns. And yes, I know some people had the Mavericks winning the series, but in this fashion, in game 7, up 48 points, like that's crazy, especially for this best team in the NBA that the Suns were all season long. And man, right from the start, it was a blowout. I mean, it started like 15-5. They were up like like double digits by the end of the first quarter, 20 points at the end of the second quarter. Kept on going, and that was an absolute bloodbath. And the Suns just disappointed everyone. They went out awful, probably the worst you can possibly go out. And what a disappointing year for the Suns. And we'll see what they do next season. We'll talk about that, but we first have to talk about their big three and the struggles they faced. And let's talk about Chris Paul first. On offense, he wasn't even that good. I mean, there was a stat where Chris Paul had 47 points the first 2 games of the series. Dominance. But in the next 5 games, he had the same 47 points in 5 games. That's about a 9-point average, and that's just not acceptable at all. On defense, he got targeted pretty much every play. I think there was a stat that this game 7 was the most ever Chris Paul has been targeted in the pick and roll, and it worked. I mean, he's I know he's a good defender. He's made all defensive teams, so he's really good at getting steals. But when you're 6'1", under 200 pounds, especially if you have a guy like Luka Doncic scoring on you, like you can't really do much. And the Mavs didn't really attack. I mean, the Sun didn't attack Chris Paul in the start of the series, but when they found success, they just kept on doing it, and it's worked out so much. In Game 7, Chris Paul was a minus 39. Minus 39, like, that's just not acceptable for the Suns team, and Chris Paul probably an All-NBA player this year, and having him disappoint like that you just can't let that. And it's probably one of the worst games of his entire career. And overall, this series, he's had, I would say, these, especially the games in Dallas, he's had so many just awful games, turning the ball over, just not getting a shot off, not being aggressive, barely taking any shots. And Chris Paul just, you gotta play better. And another crazy stat about Chris Paul, there's so many crazy stats about Chris Paul, he's lost his last 5, or he's lost like 5-0-2 leads, and that's just not acceptable for an all-time great, and that's definitely not good for his legacy overall. And just so disappointing for the Suns team. Devin Booker, I know he played solid this series, but Game 7, he didn't make a single field goal until the third quarter. The first half, I don't think even Chris Paul or Devin Booker had a single field goal made. A single. Now you can give credit to the Mavs defense, but a lot of that, yes, the Mavs defense, but the Suns offense just wasn't as fluid as we saw in the just this season. Devin Booker just got hounded by Reggie Bullock, and they just threw so much help. They blitzed him. I mean, if you're getting double teamed, you just really can't do much. You make the extra pass, and he did that. He did that, I would say, well, hitting Jay Crowder. But Jay Crowder bricked pretty much all of his shots in Game 7, and Devin Booker, when you're getting double like that, he did take a couple forced shots, but still, I mean, he pretty much missed all of those. And because there's such contested shots, you don't really expect anyone, even a player as good as Devin Booker, to be that efficient with those jump shots. Deandre Aiden, man, that's this big three just totally melted down. I mean, Aiden had 5 points in 17 minutes. Like, that's not acceptable. I mean, 5 points, 4 rebounds, I think a career low in points. Like, why? I mean, in the interview, Monty Williams said it's internal for why why he only played 17 minutes, and especially with Aiden being a free agent, that's not a good sign. And talking about his free agency, it's just been so dramatic. I mean, at the start of the year, the Suns were not willing to give him that max, which a lot of people thought was questionable. This season, they played so well, and people said, oh yeah, the Suns are giving him the max, he deserves it, this team is so dominant. But after this loss and seeing the 5 and 4 that Aiden put up, I don't really know. I mean, there's of course already conflict. Only playing 17 minutes, didn't really seem that engaged in this game. And It's interesting. I mean, would you give him a max? I mean, personally, if you're a team like the Pistons, you're like a young team that needs some talent, has cap space. Yeah, give Aiden the max. I think the Pistons legit might give him the full max, and I don't really know if the Suns are gonna match it. I mean, he's just. I still think Aiden can be good. I've seen a lot of people say that he's just like just like a solid center. He's like maybe an all-star caliber center, but he needs a good point guard. He's not going to do some stuff, but I think believe in Aiden. I mean, yes, his performance was not good, but I feel like the Suns just don't really run Aiden their offense a lot, and they don't really give him the touches that he needs. And yes, the reason why they're not doing it is because they're winning. I mean, just like the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this team was rolling even without Aiden getting the dominance that we know he physically can do, but if it works, so you can't really change that. If it works, that would, as a 63-win team, that works. But on a different team, he might get more touches, maybe more post-ups, maybe some more stuff to do off the dribble, just get the ball more, and I think he can really break out to be a much better player than he is with the Suns so far. Just so disappointing for the Suns team. I mean, 60-win team, 63-win team, losing in the second round, getting blown out in Game 7. That's just not acceptable. But you have to give all the credit of the world to the Dallas Mavericks. And man, this team just looks so fluid on both sides of the ball. I mean, Luka Doncic, best player in the series. He just really proved how good he is. I think he had more points than Devin Booker, more rebounds than Deandre Aiden, more assists than Chris Paul, more steals than Mikal Bridges. That's crazy in this series. And Luka just did everything. I mean, passing was there. There's just watching that first half, especially, he just ran the whole show. Step back threes, getting inside the basket, getting fouled, hitting shooters, and especially at the start of the game, their shooters really weren't making their shots. But then, because of the quality of shots, they're gonna make some of them. And when you have someone like Spencer Dinwiddie stepping up for 30 points, Jalen Brunson for 24, this Mavs offense is just so fluid. I mean, Luka getting the shooter open, getting all the attention of the defense, kicking out to like Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, an extra skip pass. I guarantee you, 90% of the time, there's gonna be a wide open guy in the corner, and that's what they really did to destroy the Suns team. I mean, they of course ran small with 5 shooters. They had Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell who can both shoot. Oh, I think Dwight Powell, I don't really know if he can shoot. But still, having all of those shooters spacing out the floor really just took apart the Suns defense. I mean, Aiden had a lot of foul trouble, and I mean, I still think he's not a bad defender. Of course, I would say he's definitely positive, but he's still pretty slow-footed. Then you have someone like JaVale McGee getting 60 minutes. They're gonna explode that, especially the minutes of Bismack Biyombo. Yeah, that they just went right at him. Whether it was Luka driving at Jalen Brunson, or if they threw help, kick out to a shooter, wide open, knock it down, and this Mavs team, I really want to see how they do against the Warriors. I'll probably record a video about that soon, about that matchup and my thoughts about the series. But overall, this Dallas team just looks so good, and they live and die by the 3, but if their shooters are knocking it down, and they have capable shooters, Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, all knockdown shooters. I think there was a stat that there's like, those guys percentage-wise are probably like top 5 in the entire playoffs. Luka Doncic, we know how good Luka is. Jalen Brunson hit a couple big shots. Spencer, in the first quarter, he had like 2 step-back threes, and you definitely wouldn't expect that. But if he can pop off like that, that's gonna be so important, so impactful for this team. And this Mavericks team proved everyone wrong, but man, the Suns, I'm just so disappointed. I mean, they had so many turnovers, and there's just so many lazy passes. And yes, like I said, the Mavericks defense was really good. Just double teaming Devin Booker, letting the other guys shoot like Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder just, man, he played so bad today. He shot so many shots and pretty much missed a large majority of them. And then if you just get the ball into the hands out of Devin Booker, Chris Paul's gonna play this bad, then it's just not gonna work out. I mean, the Suns overall, I mean, it says only 12 turnovers, but it felt like so many more turnovers off of that. And then overall, like, the Suns just looked so atrocious on both ends of the floor. I mean, they were top 5 in offense and defense this season. And if you looked at this game, just watch this game, didn't look at their entire rest of the season, they were they just look so bad. And I think there's another stat that this is the first time the Suns shot under 40% in back-to-back games. And yes, in the regular season, if that happens, sure, but having it in Game 6 and Game 7 of your series against the Dallas Mavericks to make it to the conference finals, that's just not acceptable. I mean, Monty Williams got outcoached by Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd, yeah, you proved everyone wrong, but that's just not acceptable. Congrats to the Mavericks, but the Suns just went out so sad. So that's my thoughts on this game. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts. What do you think the Suns will do this offseason? Can the Mavericks beat the Warriors? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time.